Gloria Mackenzie, the oldest Powerball winner who ended up in court in May of 2013, an unassuming woman from Zephyrhills, Florida, stepped into a public supermarket to buy her weekly lottery ticket. At 84 years old, Gloria Mackenzie was a widow, living a quiet life in a modest rental home. She had been a school teacher and lived through decades of hard work and frugality. She was not a flashy woman, nor the type most people would imagine holding the winning ticket to one of the largest jackpots in American history. But on that day, Gloria's life changed forever. Gloria purchased a single quick pick ticket for the Powerball drawing on May 18, 2013. The jackpot had climbed to an eye-popping $590 million, at that time, the largest Powerball prize ever won by a single individual. As fate would have it, another shopper in line allowed Gloria to go ahead of them to buy her ticket. That seemingly small act of courtesy determined who would walk away with nearly $600 million. When the numbers were drawn, Gloria Mackenzie became the sole winner of the $590 million jackpot. After federal and state taxes, she chose the lump sum option and collected approximately $370 million. The win was historic, not only for the size of the prize, but also because Gloria was the oldest person ever to win such a massive lottery. Overnight, she went from a quiet senior citizen living on a fixed income to one of the wealthiest women in America. The story captured headlines around the world. Photographs of Gloria, alongside her son Scott, flashed across television screens as she accepted the check from Florida lottery officials. The quiet woman with snow-white hair and glasses was suddenly thrust into the spotlight. People marveled at the idea of an elderly woman becoming richer than celebrities, CEOs, and sports stars in an instant. But as is often the case with massive lottery wins, the fairy tale was far more complicated than it first appeared. Gloria chose not to hire a financial team immediately. Instead, she placed much of her trust in her son, Scott Mackenzie, who had been living with her at the time. She allowed Scott to act as her financial manager, responsible for overseeing investments and protecting her newfound fortune. Gloria, who had lived a simple and modest life, was not accustomed to handling vast amounts of money. She leaned on her son to manage the hundreds of millions that had suddenly landed in her lap. For a while, things seemed calm. Gloria and Scott purchased a large, luxurious home in Jacksonville, Florida, for approximately $1.2 million. The property was massive compared to her previous modest residence and represented the kind of lifestyle one might expect after such a huge win. They also bought a brand new car and began living more comfortably. Despite her wealth, Gloria remained relatively private, preferring to avoid the lavish and showy spending habits that have doomed other lottery winners. But beneath the surface, trouble was brewing. In 2019, 6 years after her historic win, Gloria filed a lawsuit against her son Scott, accusing him of mismanaging her fortune. According to court filings, she claimed that Scott had placed her winnings into poorly managed investments that resulted in substantial losses. Gloria alleged that she had lost millions of dollars due to Scott's decisions and that he had breached his duty to act in her best interest as her fiduciary. The lawsuit painted a sad picture. A mother and son who had once stood side by side in triumph were now bitterly divided over money. Gloria's attorneys argued that Scott had steered her into risky and unsuitable investments, including annuities and other financial products that locked up her money and prevented her from accessing it freely. She alleged that he had failed to properly diversify her portfolio and ignored sound financial advice. Scott, for his part, denied wrongdoing. He claimed that he had acted in his mother's best interests and that the investments were intended to secure her future. He also argued that Gloria had been fully informed about the financial decisions being made. The lawsuit dragged into the public eye the private financial battles of one of America's most famous lottery winners. Court documents revealed that despite winning nearly $370 million after taxes, Gloria's fortune had been significantly reduced by the time of the lawsuit. While she was by no means broke, the narrative shifted from one of triumph to one of caution. The story became less about the joy of winning and more about the dangers of misplaced trust, even within families. One of the most striking details of Gloria's story is how little she had lived on before her win. Before 2013, she rented a small duplex and lived frugally on a teacher's pension and Social Security. Her life after the win was supposed to be secure and comfortable. Instead, the lawsuit showed that even unimaginable wealth could not shield someone from financial missteps, family conflicts, and the complexity of managing sudden fortune. Legal experts who reviewed the case noted that Gloria's situation was unfortunately not unique. Many lottery winners fall into financial traps because they lack experience managing such large sums. Trusting family members without professional oversight can be a recipe for disaster. Gloria's story became a cautionary tale not only about the lottery itself but also about the importance of strong financial planning. The media followed the lawsuit closely, fascinated by the drama of a mother suing her own son over mismanaged millions. Reporters dug into Gloria's life, interviewing neighbors and acquaintances who described her as kind, quiet, and reserved. They expressed sadness that her golden years had been overshadowed by legal battles and fractured family relationships. By the time the case settled, details of the resolution were kept mostly private. It was reported that Gloria remained wealthy, though far less so than when she had first collected her prize. Some estimates suggested she still had tens of millions, enough to live comfortably, but the damage to her family bond was beyond repair. Gloria's story highlights several key truths about the lottery. First, winning does not guarantee happiness or security. Second, sudden wealth requires careful and professional management, not blind trust in unqualified advisors. And third, money has the power to divide families, sometimes irreparably. What makes Gloria Mackenzie's tale particularly poignant is her age. At 84, she should have been enjoying the peace of her later years. She had outlived her husband, raised her family, and worked hard for decades. The lottery was supposed to be her reward, her ticket to comfort and joy. Instead, she found herself in the middle of a public and painful family conflict, proof that money cannot buy harmony or trust. Her win also sparked broader discussions about lottery participation among older adults. Many people saw Gloria as a symbol of hope, proof that anyone, at any age, could strike it rich. Others saw her as a warning, showing how dangerous sudden wealth can be, especially without proper protections. Even after her lawsuit, Gloria continued to live a relatively quiet life, avoiding the spotlight whenever possible. She rarely gave interviews and preferred to keep her personal affairs private. To this day, her story is remembered as one of the most dramatic and cautionary in lottery history. From the moment she stepped in front of that generous stranger in line at Publix, to the day she walked into a courtroom to face her own son, Gloria Mackenzie's journey reflects the double-edged sword of sudden fortune. She reminds us that the lottery can deliver unimaginable wealth, but it can also bring unimaginable challenges. Gloria Mackenzie remains, to this day, the oldest person ever to win a massive Powerball jackpot. Her story is one of fate, fortune, and family conflict. It shows us that while luck can change your financial situation overnight, it cannot guarantee happiness, security, or trust. So the next time you hear about a record-breaking jackpot, remember Gloria's story. Winning lottery may seem like a dream, but behind the headlines are real people, real struggles, and often, real heartbreak. And that's the incredible true story of Gloria Mackenzie, the oldest Powerball winner in history, who went from unimaginable wealth to a heartbreaking courtroom battle with her own son. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more about the real lives behind the world's biggest lottery wins, don't forget to subscribe to True Lottery Stories. We bring you the most shocking, inspiring, and cautionary tales from people who beat the odds. And what happened after the jackpot? Hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment with your thoughts on Gloria's story, and share this video with a friend who dreams of winning the lottery. This is True Lottery Stories, where every win has a story, and not all stories have a happy ending.